Hey guys, welcome back. It's X4 Foundations. This I've been working on the Commander Rex playthrough. Um, when you get over 1,700 ships, redoing all your traders and miners and stuff like that, it takes some time. And I'm also kind of watching as I go to see if they're doing things better. Um, well, just real quick, I basically had to clear out all of the cargo holds of all the traders, cleared out the orders. I spread them around the different sectors, and then because whenever you give them the auto trade command, whatever sector they're in, when you give them that command, that's their home sector. They consider that, and so their distance limit starts from that sector. So I spread them out a little bit around the galaxy or universe, and I gave them all orders again. And what sucks is there's no when you go into the commands, when you do auto trade, there you have to add each ware individually. There's no like add all wares button, which I would think that it would make it easier, unless I'm missing something. But I didn't see a way that you can add more than just one at a time. Here's like the distance, and that's determined on the pilot's overall skills. But I got those going. Now, if you see here, it does look better for like the outstanding trades, the ones that are in progress. This tells me right now I got 4.6 million in trades going on. I have noticed it seems better than what it was before. Plus, because I cut out those medium ships and I've really only got 30 auto traders, they're all large. At least they're all doing stuff. You see all these little blue icons, they're all trading, flying, docking, undocking. But I have noticed that my income is, it really kind of ranges. It may be a 500,000 in outstanding trades at a time, or maybe like, almost 5 million so far. So I've been watching that, but it seems like they're seeing things better. Part of the problem may have been that I had too many auto traders, but it's kind of why I was also thinking about starting a new start. But since I have all the ships and all this stuff, I'm just continuing on with these. But it takes a while because you're rearranging everything, and it's almost harder to do it that way than just building from scratch, because I want to check everything, I have to clear everything out and then check everything and make sure that the clear outs are right. And it's not just like you buy a new ship and start it. You have to kind of reset it. I don't know. It takes a while. I'm in the middle of doing that stuff with my miners. I've got some of the miners mining, but if you see all these little hourglasses, I still have to I'm still doing that. Like if I go over here, I started in, let's see here, Grand Exchange, where the headquarters is, and I've also been dropping advanced satellites. If you can see, the little hexagons is space where I don't have coverage, but all the space that I don't have hexagons, which is all this in here, that's all under satellites. So I've been dropping more satellites, trying to spread a satellite network, like over here, and also trying to drop resource probes to see if those help with finding resources and stuff like that. But I don't know how much they really help, unless they just tell you exactly what's there, so you don't have to. Because if you do select a miner, say if I select a mineral miner, go over here, right click and do mine, it kind of tells you what's there, what's available to mine anyway. So I'm still not really seeing a real big benefit on the resource probes. Again, I could be missing something, but I'm trying that stuff out. So that's what I've been working on. I've got some Pegasus here doing some auto stuff. They've got really 2 stars or under pilots. So I've got them like revisiting stations, patrolling sectors, patrolling a space, like patrolling an area or protecting an area. I'm trying to see if keeping those on auto like that, if they will level up the pilots now that 2.0's out. And I'm kind of trying to see if maybe one will level them up faster than the other. So I'm testing that out right now too. I got all my scouts filled with advanced satellites. Like I said, I'm dropping those. However, just giving you a little update of what I've been doing, because I know it's been a couple days since I put a video out. I'm trying to get all this stuff going because I want to maximize my economy or my money making, my income rate, so that I can get my income up. I've got 201,200,000, so I can start buying and building those shipyards and stuff. So that's kind of an update, I guess, on the Rex front, the Commander Rex playthrough front. But the reason for this video is a little bit ago I found all the data vaults. I found them and I completed all the data vaults. And at the time, I was kind of disappointed because you get a Steam achievement and the Boron just says, "Oh, good job," and that's it. Like, I was expecting to get something, you know what I mean? Something cool. I mean, you have to hunt down and find 28 different data vaults, and you have to complete them, and that's all you get. So I was kind of bummed out about that. But what you do is every data vault does clear out what's called a timeline. So when you do clear a data vault, it unlocks part of the backstory. Kind of like, it's called the timeline, but it unlocks the story of the X series history. So what I'm going to do, since I already went through and found them all, I mean, you do get rewards on each one that you do find. You get some money and some goods, like crafting goods or legal goods. So each one, you do get stuff for doing each one individually at the time. But if you don't want to waste time trying to find all the vaults and completing all the vaults, what I wanted to do is this video is only going through the timeline, so you can see the full story. If you're curious about seeing it without having to do all that work, because to me, it's not. Now that I've done it, I probably will never do it again because it's not worth it unless you need some quick money, maybe at the beginning of the game or something like that, or if you just happen to find one, you might as well go ahead and do it. But I wouldn't waste time trying to hunt them down, use long range scans, and then hunt them down and then scan them. So if you're curious about what you get, the timeline, how the story, this is where this is the reason for this video. So let's start it.
Earth scientists create jump gates. In 2022, Ashizawa Kazuko made a startling discovery. It was indeed possible to travel faster than the speed of light with finite energy. Kazuko had successfully established the principle of the tunnel jump. Skepticism was rife, but repeated experiments showed that the previously unknown student was indeed correct. Very soon, 2 huge jump gates were built, one sent to Mars and the other to Proxima Centauri, in humankind's first attempt at interstellar travel. In 2041, contact with the ship carrying the Proxima Gate was lost, but after a year of frantic research, the Sol Gate once again found a connection. Scientists were stunned to discover that it had not connected with the Proxima Gate, but an unknown gate in a distant region of the Milky Way. Utterly by chance, humankind had stumbled across an entire network of jump gates of unknown origin. It was an invitation that could not be turned down. The flight of the Winter Blossom. With a connection to the vast alien jump gate network established in 2042 AD, the scientific community of Earth and the USC worked together to build Earth's first first interstellar ship. The entire population of Earth was swept up in an unprecedented level of star fever, and the project took place under immense pressure. But 3 years after its construction began, in 2046 AD, the USCSS Winter Blossom, captained by Renee Farnham, was ready to face the stars. After a 2-year journey through the Jumpgate network, the Winter Blossom returned to Earth with results suggesting hundreds, possibly thousands of star systems. However, there was no trace of the gate's builders or any other intelligent life. Humanity, it seemed then, was alone. The Terraformer project begins. In the wake of the USCSS Winter Blossom's discovery of an entirely empty alien Jumpgate network, there were immediate and numerous calls for a colonization program. While rendering planets suitable for human habitation was possible with then modern Terran technology, it was still slow and arduous. Instead of sending human crews out for decades to complete this task, fleets of intelligent robot vessels, terraformers, were designed and built to complete it with speed, efficiency, and far less risk. Over the course of 30 years from 2066 AD, the first, second, and third terraformer fleets were sent out into the network to terraform a dozen planets inside their stars' biospheres. The Terraformer project is terminated. The use of artificially intelligent ships to help in Earth's colonization efforts sent shockwaves across the scientific community. Many argued the move would drastically accelerate the terraforming process without incurring the resultant increase in construction costs, and it was undeniable that there were huge economic and social benefits to humankind. Others questioned whether the use of truly intelligent machines was in fact slavery. Many were drawn into countless arguments over the definition of sentience. The Terraformer project's condemnation, though, came in the form of mathematicians and programmers that proved without a doubt that goal drift, changes made to the original programming of the terraformers caused by machine evolution, could not be ruled out. This, they argued, was a profound danger to intelligent life throughout the galaxy. In 2099 AD, the world government ordered that a safe self-destruct program be patched into the first, second, and third terraformer fleet's software, causing the immediate destruction of all terraformer units. The Terraformer Conflict. In 2145, fleets of mutated, long-forgotten terraformer ships, thought destroyed by the safe self-destruct command issued 45-6 prior, appeared in orbit around Earth. Their terraforming tools turned into weapons of war, as billions died in the ensuing firefight around Sol. The USC was caught unprepared, with few ships and minimal crews on each. The war put all previous conflicts to shade. In 2146, the crew of the USCSS Dragonfire, Nathan Ridley Gunn, Paul Ventura, and Frank DeFries, lured the terraformer away from Earth through a jump gate connected to the larger alien network, stumbled upon by the USCSS Winter Blossom. As the terraformer fleet followed the USC fleet away, Gunn ordered the Dragonfire to destroy the gate to Sol, closing the system off to the network for hundreds of years. Earth was saved, but across the network, the Terraformer War raged on. Many Terran colonies were raised before the ever-dwindling USC fleet could bring the machines to book. First contact with a Pyramid. In the wake of the Terraformer conflict that had seen the Argon separated from their Terran roots, paranoia was so rife among them that peaceful negotiation between them and the first alien species they encountered was difficult to induce. First identified by the Argon as xenomorphs, then as Zenon, Before the word was irrevocably connected with the descendants of the Terraformer fleet, tentative diplomatic talks with the Paranid began in 130 NT, after years of small skirmishes wherein both races had refused to identify themselves. Progress was slow, with neither race trusting the other, but eventually trade and information exchanges were negotiated that benefited the Argon and Paranid both, technologically and culturally. Foundation of the Federation. Building themselves up from nothing after facing complete annihilation by the terraformers in the Terraformer Conflict, the Argon spread throughout the Jumpgate network at a far slower rate than the original Terran settlers. During this time, there were of course many disagreements over the direction of the Argon people, leading to the secession of both the Hatikva Free League and Free State of Solara from Argon Prime leadership. Despite their differences, however, they were able to join in an alliance, and in 241 NT, the Covenant creating the Argon Federation, with Argon Prime at its capital, was signed. First contact with the Boron. It was nearly 200 years after first contact between the Argon and Paranid, in 323 NT, that first contact with the Queendom of Boron was made. The Boron were very open to treaty negotiations, and it was a mere 4 months after first contact that trade and cultural accords were signed between Argon Prime and Kingdom End, the Boron home system. These accords formed a strong basis for Argon-Boron relations that have lasted ever since. The foundation upon which a close friendship between the two races was built. The Paranid, less trusting than the Argon, refused to sign treaties so quickly with a race with whom they had had so little contact. The Boron Campaign. The peace that all three of the Argon, Paranid, and Boron had known for a year after the Argon-Boron treaties were signed was suddenly shattered when the Queendom was attacked by a fleet of unknown ships, accompanied by a flotilla of Paranid ships. The Boron were only able to survive the conflict with the help of the Argon, who were furious with the Paranid because of their sudden aggression. The Split, to whom the ships of unknown design had belonged, quickly made themselves known as an aggressive and war-hungry people who wished to challenge themselves against all, and for a number of years, small skirmishes with the Split were known to occur both in Boron and Argon space. The Community of Planets. In an effort to avoid further violence between the Argon, Boron, Paranid, and Split, the Community of Planets was founded in 328 NT, pledging to work together in all things and against all threats in unity. Attempts were at first unsuccessful, with only the Argon and the Boron joining the community in a so-named Guild of Founders. The Paranid and Split, respective relations with the Argon and Boron still in ruin, refused to join, instead making their own alliance. 200 years of Cold War. Following the initial and somewhat failed founding of the Community of Planets, there were years of Cold War between the Argon and the Boron, and the Paranid and the Split. Though all races saw moderate economic growth and technological achievement, it was fueled predominantly by the necessity to be ready for war. This Cold War state was finally broken in 489 NT when the Paranid, after much long and difficult diplomacy, agreed to join the Community of Planets. Though for another 25 years, the Split Patriarchy stubbornly believed they could stand alone, they too were brought into the fold. In 515 NT, when the second formal founding of the Community of Planets was completed. First contact with a Teladi. Contact with another species calling itself the Teladi was made in 550 NT. Ostensibly searching for their lost home, Yanamasura, The newcomers proved themselves shrewd business people with the uncanny ability to make the best of even the worst situation. Their introverted nature and ubiquitous tendency towards avarice proved uncomfortable to other races, but their financial brilliance all but assured them a place within the community of planets. Such was their dominance over other races in business and economic fields that the Teladi quickly became the primary financial power within the community, even introducing the credit as a community-wide currency to great success. Evolution of the Zenon. It is unknown how many terraformers ignored or survived the safe self-destruct order issued by the USC in 2099 AD, though it is suspected that most that did were part of the Second Fleet that was furthest away when the order was given. Over the years since, the word xenomorph, and then Zenon, has been intrinsically connected to the self-controlled and seemingly intelligent machines that have plagued not just the Argon, but all members of the community of planets. If, as rumored, they are the descendants of these Second Fleet terraformers, then any hint of their objective to create beautiful Earth-like worlds is gone, replaced by an almost obsessive vendetta to annihilate all sentient, biological life. Arrival of USCX and Kyle Brennan. No one would have imagined that at the peak of Zenon activity in the community of planet, in 742 NT, a ship from Earth would arrive in Seaswell, a star system controlled by the Teladi Company, using a functioning jump drive. Though there was much ado about the Terran pilot and his extraordinary ship, Kyle William Brennan quickly proved his mettle by volunteering to aid in the second Zenon conflict, using the Terran technology equipped on the USCX, which far outstripped anything available in the community of planets, to cripple the Zenon central supply and power facilities. For this feat, Brennan was named the hero of the Zenon conflict. A new threat emerges. Years after Kyle Brennan's heroism, his son Thronio Gardner was arrested for ties to the Yaki Syndicate. Though Julian Gardner Brennan chose rehabilitation over imprisonment, his chance for true redemption came weeks later as the Argon colony of Presidents End was laid to waste by a fleet of unknown alien spaceships, later named the Cock after a split folktale. The Cock were relentless in their assaults, striking all across the Jumpgate network. The offensive could only be stopped by Julian and his close friends, Sayako and Brett Serra, who chased the Cock to Omicron Lyrae, where they were using Julian's father to unwillingly control an M0 class battleship. Julian was able to rescue his father and halt the Cock assault on the system, but only at the cost of Brett Serra's life. The Presidents and Massacre. The Argon colony of Presidents End had no military ships and a minimal security force when unknown alien ships jumped into the system with the use of fully functional jump drives. There was barely time to breathe before these same ships opened fire on station and ship alike, tearing the small colony apart in under an hour, jumping away before the nearest federal fleet could respond. The split would go on to name this new threat the Cock, after a folktale told to scare children, and the community of planets would fight a bitter fight against them for a number of years. Presidents End never recovered from this onslaught, with ships and stations left to rust, where they had been annihilated by the Cock's deadly Kion beam weapons. The Battle of Omicron Lyrae. The most famous battle of the Cock campaign, the Battle for Omicron Lyrae, saw community hero Kyle Brennan unwillingly used to control a devastating Cock M0 battleship, with weapons larger and more terrifying than anything ever seen by the community of planets. Only the intervention of Julian Brennan, Saya Ko, and Brett Serra, all named heroes of the community of planets for their efforts, stopped the M0 from destroying the heavily colonized planet of Omicron Lyrae, rescuing Kyle from the clutches of the Cog. While Julian and Saya went on to play important roles in the finding of Earth and the Terran conflict respectively, Brett was killed in the attempt to rescue Kyle and save the system. The race to find Earth. After the Battle of Omicron Lyrae, Kyle Brennan's desperate search for Earth became a staple of public opinion for many months. There were even those who believed his story and followed in his footsteps. These few included Ion, a goner, who asked Julian Brennan for his assistance in claiming Cog technology to build a new jump gate to Earth. With the task completed, Kyle, still with an active connection to the Cog hive, accidentally led the Cog directly to the gate, and then to Earth itself. If the Cog expected a swift victory in Sol, however, they were denied it, as the far superior USC fleet, greatly improved since their disconnect from the jump gate network, awaited them. Relations with the Terrans begin to cool. After their assistance in dealing with the major Cog offensives at the end of the Cog conflict, the community of planets was eager for Sol to join its ranks. The government of Earth and the outer solar system, Geos, the system-wide government of Sol, was willing to undertake a loose alliance with their long-lost cousins, the Argon Federation, alone, but declined the offer to join the community. Other races were hurt by what they saw as a slight against them, and relations slowly began to cool off. But the Jump Gate network once again knew peace for a short while. Operation Final Fury. Though the M0 class battleship used by the Cog at the Battle of Omicron Lyrae was destroyed, and no more during the rest of the Cog campaign, the Cog remained a dangerous threat to the community of planets for some time. The tide only turned against them when a connection to the Sol Gate was re-established, and the technologically advanced USC fleet were able to stifle the last major Cog offensive. After that, the community of planets was able to organize a counterattack against the Cog, using information gathered from Cog ships to locate the hive's point of origin and destroy it. This operation was known as Operation Final Fury, and is seen as the end of the Cog campaign. Tensions build over AGI usage. In the centuries since Nathan Argon destroyed the jump gate leading to Sol, Terrans had fostered a deep distrust of any and all artificial intelligence, something that, despite the threat posed by the Zenon, had not been mirrored by the community of planets. The Terrans made it quite clear that they would not allow their mass-produced ships to be artificial intelligently controlled, nor would they allow artificial intelligently controlled ships to enter their space. Additionally, they bid the community to allow computer-controlled ships to be inspected by the AGI task force for any potentially dangerous intelligent systems. The community of planets refused, strictly determined that AGI never again become a threat to Sol. The Terran government ordered the USC and ATF to fly into Argon space. The Terran Conflict. The community of planets was quick to see the Terran fleet moving through Argon space as an act of aggression and reacted accordingly. War fell onto the Jump Gate network once again, and thousands more were killed as the community came to realize just how advanced Terran technology was in comparison to their own. There was no hope of the Argon Federation being able to defeat the USC in a direct confrontation. Instead, they drew on Terraformer technology developed in secret by the Barrow. New CPU ships and assembler drones were built, with new jump gates also built to maintain supply lines. The destruction of the Taurus Eternal. Saya Ko, serving for some time as an Argon Secret Service agent on Earth, feared greatly that the Terran conflict would lead to the defeat of her beloved Argon Prime. In the absence of sound alternatives, she was forced to take extreme measures. She and Sherman Hyatu, an Argon double agent stationed in the Sol system, devised a plan to destroy Earth's last line of defense, the Taurus Eternal, coordinating with the Federal and Beryl fleets to strike the planet as soon as the space station had been removed. In 778 NT, they put their plan into action. They initiated an emergency procedure known as segment separation. Taurus Eternal would separate into its constituent 420 segments that drifted into a higher orbit, hereby irrevocably destroying the Taurus. Although the number of casualties was low because the segments sealed themselves to act as lifeboats, some individuals in the connecting elements were killed, among them Saya Ko and Sherman Hyatu. Neither body was ever found. Warp instability. First in -24 NT, connections between all jump gates, including those made by Earth, were unexpectedly severed and then, just as surprisingly, re-established. Terran scouts were the first to realize that the network now had different configuration than before the disconnect. Then, starting during the Terran conflict, the jump gates once again began to destabilize, with jump gates opening and closing, first sporadically and then on an almost daily basis, before in 782 NT, once again shutting down completely. Theorists suggest that these shutdowns line up with extreme rises in the aggression of the Zenon or other artificial intelligence threats, and question whether it may be an attempt to slow the destruction of intelligent biological life. The jump gate shutdown. When in 782 NT, the jump gate network was suddenly disconnected, as every single active gate suddenly deactivated without warning, the universe was thrown into chaos. Scores of star systems that depended on resources coming in from other territories were thrown into anarchy and war. As in their panic, people fought for survival. Diplomatic relationships and alliances that had stood the test of time were altogether destroyed. The fate of many star systems and many people is yet to be uncovered. The community of planets, after 268 years, ceased to exist. The Alliance of the Word. In 801 NT, 19 years after the death of the community of planets, messenger drones from Sacred Relic appeared in Argon Prime and Kingdom End, bringing word from the Pyramid that they were attempting to find out the reason for the shutdown and send any aid they could. These Pyramid called themselves the Alliance of the Word, offering some kind of communication between star systems, even if interstellar travel was no longer possible. The Alliance of the Word still operates in Sacred Relic to this day, sending automated scouts to systems still trapped outside the newly connected Jumpgate network, in the hope that they may find out who has survived the dark times and send aid to them if necessary. The gates reopen. Though it is impossible to know when the first of the thousands of jump gates throughout the universe reopened, or which it was, the first instance recorded by the Alliance of the Word of a reopening was in 803 NT, reconnecting Sacred Relic to Pious Mists, then an unexplored system. Messenger drones they had sent to nearby systems soon returned with more news of open gates. For near to 20 years, jump gates continued to open and close, much as they had before 782 NT, some sporadically opening, closing, and reopening to a new location, some turning on and immediately stabilizing. The gate network stabilizes. In the 20 years after first reports of reopened jump gates arrived in Sacred Relic, the Alliance of the Word continued to study jump gates and as many unstable warp anomalies as they could for any pattern or reasoning behind the instability of the system. Though they were unable to garner much, they were able to find a noticeable pattern. As time passed, more and more gates were not only remaining open, but also stable. By 820 NT, they had gathered enough data to be able to confirm publicly that the new jump gate network was completely safe to traverse.
All right, so that's the history of the X series. If you saw some of those clips, they were from the first, all through the games. Basically, those are the characters and the storylines through the X X2 with 3 and all those. So anyways, hopefully if you were interested, and even if you're new to the X series, that kind of gives you the story background, the history of where we are now with X4. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.